I used to be a Freemason, and I'm here to tell you who really runs the Freemasons. The real answer is much more complex and complicated than their public facing persona. Stick around, we're going to talk about this. I was in the bondage of Freemasonry for about a decade until Jesus Christ opened my eyes with the gift of discernment to see how wicked it really is. I've held multiple positions in it, from being the second person in line in the lodge, local lodge, to a member of the Scottish Rite and a member of the York Rite. The simple answer is there's not one individual person that runs every body of Freemasonry. That's because Freemasonry is actually very decentralized. There is no one central governance. So since you stuck with me this far, let's take a step back and actually talk about how Freemasons and the appendant bodies or the branches of Freemasonry are actually structured. Freemasonry starts out locally with what they call the Blue Lodge. These are these Masonic temples or Masonic lodges that you'll see, on Main Street corners of, Main Street, USA. They essentially make new Freemasons. So when you start a Blue Lodge, you're an apprentice, and then you're made into a full member or a full Master Mason in this lodge. Every local lodge has a worshipful master. That's the master or the leader of the lodge. Yes, they call a man worshipful and a man master. If you're a Christian, you know Jesus had something to say about that. So in America, these local lodges are only there to do the will of the Grand Lodge. So each state in the United States has a Grand Master of all of the Blue Lodges. If you're in some countries, they actually have a Grand Lodge for the whole country. So in short, each state has their own Grand Master who runs that state. And those cabal of, say, 50 men in the United States collectively run all of the Blue Lodge or the low-level Freemasonry. These are the guys who are putting on the pancake breakfast. They're the foot soldiers that are kind of deceived. For example, the guy who runs Freemasons in England is actually brother of the ex-Queen of England. He's a member of the royal family. This is where it's going to start to get a little bit weird and complicated, because once you become a full Freemason, you then have the choice to expand your knowledge into the higher degrees, such as the Scottish Rite. So what we're looking here is a symbol of a 32nd degree Freemason from the Scottish Rite. Once again, any man who's a Mason can become a 32nd degree Mason by just doing their rituals and classes and taking those oaths, but they still don't run Freemasonry. They're just another level of foot soldier. This is where it starts getting kind of sketchy and complicated, because Freemasonry elects their leaders when they are in the Blue Lodge, the lower degrees. But when you get up into the higher degrees, the 33rd degree Freemasons run the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And what's crazy about that is no one can ever earn the 33rd degree. You have to be selected among other 33rd degree Freemasons to receive that degree. They actually call that selection coronation. They coronate the highest leaders of the Freemasons into the 33rd degree. And if a Freemason asks if they can become a 33rd degree Freemason, that is almost 1000% a sign that they'll never, ever be a 33rd degree Freemason. So you have to be selected by the group of elites. And that group of elites runs the council that runs the Scottish Rite, or that big appendant body of Freemasonry. After the Scottish Rite, there's even a more selective and more smaller group of Freemasons, and they call themselves Shriners. Yep, you might have seen them running around their little cars, and there's funky fez hats. Those folks are actually an even more exclusive branch of Freemasons than the Scottish Rite, because each one of them traditionally has to become a 32nd degree Freemason or 33rd in order to become a Shriner. But once again, like everything with Freemasonry, there's even a more select and secretive group of Shriners that run that whole organization. They're called the Royal Order of Jesters. That's these guys right here. So, who are these guys? So, once again, let's talk about selectiveness. These guys are the ultra secret and elite of all Freemasons. Why? Because number one, you can never, ever, ever ask to become a member of the Royal Order of Jesters. The Jesters themselves have to select them. So the Royal Order of Jesters are a super secret, exclusive branch of the Shriners. They only allow 13 men at a time to be members of the Royal Order of Jesters. Once again, if you ask, you're never going to be that member. What criteria do they have for selecting those 13 people? We don't know. No one knows. This is the order of the Jesters, order of Freemasonry that no one talks about. Why? Because there's been a lot of allegations of a lot of bad stuff with these guys. Just Google it. So I know this isn't the sensational answer you're looking for, but there's not one person. It's a cabal of men. And that's just the public facing persona. There's also clandestine lodges, which means that they don't play by these rules. There were clandestine Masons like Aleister Crowley, those whole group of guys that they don't consider them regular, but they still adhere to Masonic beliefs. So when you start thinking about it, it's an exclusive group of men that just keeps on getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The leadership of Freemasonry is selected and selected and selected until they're willing to realize that they actually work for this guy right here, Lucifer. He's truly in charge of all the hearts and minds of Freemasons because he's got every one of them deceived. It's just a matter of how much and how willing they are to go down that Masonic path and how elite that they can become. I hope this helps. God bless you.